Cutting live across to Prime Minister Narendra Modi right there. He's celebrating his Diwali with the jawans, as you already know. He's addressed the jawans twice already, giving out a stern message, of course, to China and to Pakistan as well. Contextually very important in the line of what is, in the light of what is happening in the line of actual control and the LOC as well. But these are live visuals that we're bringing to you of the Prime Minister's visit to Rajasthan. The Indo-Tibetan Border Police jawans are celebrating Diwali in Ladakh on one side. You've got the Prime Minister in Rajasthan celebrating Diwali with our jawans, putting out a strong message to our neighboring countries like China and Pakistan. Prime Minister going on to show how our forces are unbeatable. It is a big morale booster. Visuals you see on your screens are coming in live from Jaisalmer with a strong message going out to Pakistan as well. The Prime Minister also spoke about how a major impediment to modernizing Indian Army and the provision of equipment to its soldiers was red tape of complex procedures, and how that process is now simplified. And to coordinate that better, the Chief of Defence Staff has been inducted in the hierarchy of the armed forces as well. He also went on to say that while the Indian Armed Forces are capable of dealing with the enemies, they are at the forefront to help people during disasters. He also spoke about the Air Force and Navy and how they rescued people who were stranded in other countries due to COVID. This is, all of this is a morale booster. This is something which boosts the morale of our jawans who are away from their families. They are far away from their homes, and the Prime Minister is celebrating Diwali with them. And there you go. That's a show of strength really coming in from India with the Prime Minister in Rajasthan on that tank. Live visuals coming in. The Prime Minister went on to say how the country's army is engaged in military exercises with big countries as well. They're engaged in strategic partnerships to fight against terrorism. He spoke about how our soldiers give a befitting response if anybody casts an evil eye on the nation. He also spoke about how this establishes the credibility of Indian Army in the world and how the country's army is engaged in military exercises with other big countries. Jaisalmer, Rajasthan is where all of this is happening. He reminded Pakistan of Longewala as well. Very stern message really going out to Pakistan, to China. The Prime Minister just a while back was with the member of Indian Armed Forces chanting Bharat Mata Ki Jai. The Prime Minister is right there in Rajasthan to celebrate Diwali with our security forces. Abhishek Bhalla is now joining us live for the latest on this. Abhishek, some fantastic live visuals coming in right there from Longewala in Jaisalmer, where the Prime Minister is celebrating Diwali with our armed forces. I'm throwing straight across to you for more.
Well, year after year, Chaiti, this has become an annual affair now. The Prime Minister spends time on Diwali with troops close to the borders. And in fact, the Defence Minister also on the occasion of Dussehra was close to the line of actual control when he interacted with troops in North Sikkim. And, Battle of Longewala obviously is one of the most famous battles of the 1971 war. And it's a battle that reflects extreme valor and bravery shown by the Indian Army back in 1971, taking on the Pakistani army. It was just a company of 120 soldiers who faced the opposition in Longewala, and the Prime Minister spoke about that today as well. But most importantly, the Prime Minister took a clear dig at Pakistan as well as at China. He said that Pakistan has been propagating terror, and as far as China is concerned, he did not name China, but he used the term expansionism, and it was very clear that he was talking about China, and it's not the first time that he's referred to expansionism while speaking about the activities of the Chinese at the line of actual control. And, it's very important that these comments come amid the tensions both at the line of actual control and the line of control. In fact, only yesterday at the LOC in North Kashmir, the Indian forces lost 5 brave men. There were casualties to civilians as well. And the Indian army retaliated, and the Pakistani army has lost more than 6 to 7 soldiers. They've also had to pay a heavy price because the Indian army destroyed not just terror launch pads, but also managed to destroy some of the Pakistani army installations across the LOC.
That's right. And 3 points that he wanted to implore to our Indian armed forces also was one on learn a new language, practice yoga as well, continue the ingenuity through innovation. Some great tips going out to our jawans in this particular morale boosting exercise on Diwali when the Prime Minister is celebrating with them. Abhishek?
Well, that's right. Chaiti, yoga and fitness is something that the Prime Minister has, time and again spoken about. The International Yoga Day has been celebrated. And as far as the forces are concerned, obviously, fitness is of paramount importance to them, especially in, high altitude areas, even though he was visiting Jaisalmer, which is obviously in Rajasthan. But time and again, there are references to what's happening at the borders, specifically, at the LAC in Ladakh. The temperatures are already dipping there. It's gone down to minus 20 degrees. The standoff has been continuing for more than 6 months now. And even though there is some roadmap to disengagement that has been talked about, China has given indications that, it's not going to happen so easily. So it's very clear that the Indian forces, be it at the northern borders with China or with the borders with Pakistan, are going to remain busy for many more months. And with the way that things are, especially at LAC in Ladakh and recent developments on the LOC, the forces know that there are challenges that are cut out for them. And this Diwali, in fact, comes amid all these tensions. So while the nation can celebrate Diwali happily, but I can tell you that it's not a very happy Diwali for the forces, especially because
and just to add to that, he mentioned it to them that for as long as you are there, the nation will continue to celebrate Diwali in full swing because they're the ones who are keeping us safe in our homes. He reiterated how important they are to the country, even as they are far away from their homes celebrating Diwali today.
That's right, Chaiti. And, this is a Diwali that the forces are celebrating amid a lot of tension. The Indian Army lost 4 soldiers yesterday. There was 1 more personnel from the Border Security Force. So 5 Indian security personnel were killed in action yesterday, taking on Pakistani infiltrators and the ceasefire violation from Pakistan. This was the second big ceasefire violation in the last week as far as the LOC is concerned. Even back then, 4 or 5 days back, there were 4 casualties. The numbers have been increasing. Civilians have been hit near the LOC as well. In fact, this year alone, 20 civilians have died to ceasefire violations by Pakistan, which were completely unprovoked. And this has been a very, very busy year for the Indian Army at the LOC. More than 4,000 ceasefire violations. And only in the month of October and November, there have been 500. And we are just midway through November. And the number of ceasefire violations is well past 130. So one can imagine, these numbers just give context to what kind of challenges are there at the borders for the Indian forces, be it the Indian Army, be it the BSF, the ITBP, of course, at the China border, the CRPF, obviously serving in various parts of Kashmir in counter-insurgency operations. So challenges are there. And festivals like Diwali are obviously a time when the forces can also celebrate. But unfortunately, this Diwali, they cannot let their guard down.
They can't. They absolutely can't. And he did make a mention of the fact as to how invincible they are as well. Shifting focus slightly, one of the other things that was highlighted in his address to the jawans was about the vocal for local doctrine and how the Atmanirbhar is now going to be practiced even in the defense sector of India.
Well, self-reliance, Chaiti, as far as defense is concerned, is a very, very important aspect going forward. In fact, it's one of the biggest policy shifts as far as the Indian forces are concerned. And, the focus is obviously on getting a lot of indigenous equipment, and it's already started to happen. There is an import ban list that has come, more than 100 items on that list. So what this means is that a lot of important weapon systems that were until now bought from outside, the forces will have to buy indigenous equipment now, and this will be a huge shift to the Indian defense policy from what it was in the past. And going forward, it's believed that not just small equipment, but even the bigger platform for weapons, as far as that is concerned, they are going to depend on indigenous material. Big focus on self-reliance and Atmanirbharta there as well.
And whenever the history of excellence is going to be written, one would always remember the Battle of Longewala. And this year, especially, he chose Longewala and Jaisalmer to celebrate Diwali with the jawans. There were speculations rife whether he's going to be in Bhuj, whether he's going to be in Jaisalmer, but he chose Longewala in Jaisalmer.
That's right, Chaiti. And, he's been to other places in the past as well. He's been to Siachen back in 2014, if I can recall. That was perhaps the first Diwali after he took over as the Prime Minister. And obviously, Siachen is the highest battlefield in the world. Big challenges over there. Life is extremely tough. Over the years, he's always chosen to be in places that have some context. And of course, the Battle of Longewala is what, the military legacy is made of. It's that kind of stuff where just a company of
All right.
120 Indian army soldiers took on the Pakistani army in full force, stopping them at the borders in Rajasthan from moving forward. So big messaging by the Prime Minister from choosing these locations to celebrate Diwali with the troops year after year.
Absolutely. Abhishek, we'll keep coming back to you.